The woman looked him straight in the eye and spat at his feet. "You dirty man," she said. "You beggar! Don't ever talk to me again." Chuka stood still. He wiped his face with the back of his hand. People were watching. Some laughed. Some shook their heads. He said nothing. He just walked away. Chuka was not a beggar. He was a billionaire. He owned 3 big companies, 2 houses in Lagos, and land across the country. But that day, he was wearing torn slippers, a faded shirt, and carrying a plastic bag. He looked like a man with nothing. That was the plan. Chuka had been rich for a long time, but something was missing. Every woman he met wanted his money. They smiled when they saw his car. They laughed at every joke when they saw his clothes. But deep inside, he knew they didn't love him. They only loved what he had. So Chuka made a decision. "I will live like a poor man," he said. "I want to know if someone can love me when I have nothing." His friend Kunle thought it was a bad idea. "You're crazy," Kunle said. "You don't need to suffer like this. Just find a good girl from a good family." But Chuka had made up his mind. He gave his driver time off. He stopped using his expensive phone. He moved into a small one-room house on the edge of town. The roof leaked. The floor was rough. He bought second-hand clothes from the market and rode in buses with holes in the seats. He told people his name was Musa. People in the neighborhood thought he was just another poor man looking for work. He ate at cheap food stalls. He helped people fix their fences or carry their water. He greeted everyone politely. Still, many ignored him, except for the woman who spat on him. Her name was Ronke. She sold cooked rice and stew near the bus park. Chuka had gone there one evening to buy food. He had asked gently if she had a plate to spare. That's when she insulted him. But not everyone treated him that way. There was one girl who smiled at him. Her name was Amaka. She sold oranges near the road. She didn't have much, but she always had something nice to say. Sometimes she gave him an extra orange and told him to pay later. "Life is hard, I know," she once said, "but we're all trying." Chuka noticed her kindness, not just to him, but to others too. She shared her food with children. She helped an old woman who had fallen by the roadside. She never looked down on anyone. Still, Chuka said nothing about who he really was. He wanted to be sure. He wanted to see if Amaka's kindness would change once she knew the truth. He wanted to watch longer, learn more. But time was running out. Back at his real home, his business needed him. His mother had started asking questions. "Why are you never around?" she asked. "What's going on?" Chuka knew he couldn't hide forever. Soon, he would have to choose: go back to his old life and leave Amaka behind, or take a risk and tell her the truth. But what if she changed? What if she became like the others? What if her love was only real when he was poor? Chuka didn't have the answer yet, but he was ready to find out. Every morning before the sun came up, Chuka walked down to the road where Amaka sold her oranges. She sat under a big umbrella near the junction. Her hands were always busy, peeling, slicing, or tying fruit in nylon. "Good morning, Musa," she would say with a smile. Chuka would nod and smile back. "Good morning, Amaka." He never stayed long. He didn't want her to think he was trying to beg. He would buy one orange, sometimes two. She always gave him an extra one, even when he didn't ask. Some days, he tried to pay her back. "No need," she would say. "Just pray for me." One day, it rained heavily. The ground was muddy, and water ran through the gutters like a small river. Most sellers stayed home, but Amaka came out. She stood under her umbrella with her oranges stacked neatly in bowls. Chuka came too, with a nylon bag over his head. You should have stayed home, he said. If I don't come out, I don't eat, she replied. They stood under the umbrella, close together, listening to the rain hit the plastic roof. Chuka looked at her. Her dress was wet and her shoes were soaked, but she didn't complain. She just kept wiping her oranges and smiling at passing people. Do you live far? He asked. Just 2 streets away. With my younger brother? Parents. They died some years ago. I take care of him now. Chuka kept quiet for a while. Then he said, You're strong. She laughed. I don't have a choice. Chuka helped her pack up that day. When the rain stopped, he carried one of her bowls while she balanced the rest on her head. As they walked, people stared. Some whispered, See that useless Musa, one man said, following her like a dog. Chuka didn't answer. Amaka didn't either. They just kept walking. Her house was small. The zinc roof had holes. The door was wooden and rough. Her younger brother Say opened it. He was about 10, thin and quiet. Thank you, Amaka said when they reached the door. Chuka nodded and turned to leave. That night, he couldn't sleep. He thought about Amaka, how she worked hard every day, how she smiled through pain, how she helped others, even when she had little. He had met many rich girls, but none had her heart. But there was still a problem. She didn't know who he really was. If she found out he was Chuka Obi, the billionaire who owned Obi Logistics and Obi Real Estate, would she change? Would she still smile the same way? Would she still offer him oranges without asking for anything in return? He wanted to believe she would. But he had been wrong before. A few years ago, he had dated a girl named Bisi. She had told him she loved him. She said she didn't care about money. But one day, he showed up in simple clothes, pretending he had lost his business. The next morning, she blocked him. Since then, he had trusted no one. Now, Amaka was making him feel something again, something real, something soft. But he was still scared. He looked at the ceiling of his one-room house. Rainwater was dripping from a small hole. I have to know, he said to himself. I have to know before I fall in love for real. The next day, Chuka sat outside a small shop, holding a plastic cup of pap. He watched people rush past, traders, bus conductors, children in school uniforms. He was thinking about Amaka. He needed to test her. He needed to know how far her kindness would go. So, that afternoon, he walked to her orange stand looking worse than usual. His shirt was stained with engine oil. His slippers had a hole. His eyes looked tired on purpose. Amaka noticed immediately. Musa, are you okay? She asked. I'm fine, he said quietly. You look sick. Have you eaten? Nambai didn't have money this morning. Without saying a word, she reached into her small bag and pulled out a few notes. She gave it to him. Go and buy food. You can pay me back next week. He was shocked. You don't even know if I will pay back, he said. Amaka smiled. I don't help people to gain something. I help because I know what hunger feels like. Chuka took the money. He didn't want to, but he knew it was part of the test. He bought food, then came back to sit near her. They talked for a while. She told him about Say's school problems. He told her a made-up story about his uncle chasing him from the village. She didn't ask many questions. She just listened. After a while, Amaka said, Musa, if you ever need a place to sleep, you can come to our house. It's small, but at least there's a mat. Chuka looked at her. No woman had ever said that to him, not even when they thought he had money. Now this girl, with almost nothing, was offering him her space. That night, he didn't go to her house, but he stood far across the street and watched her light a small lantern, sweep her front yard, and call her brother inside. He felt something strong in his chest. Maybe this is real, he thought. Maybe I've finally found the one. But one more thing happened the next morning. As he walked to the roadside, he saw two boys arguing. One of them pushed the other, and a fight started. Before Chuka could move, one of them threw a stone. It missed the other boy and hit Chuka on the head. He fell. Blood ran down his face. People gathered. Some pointed. Some laughed. No one helped, except Amaka. She dropped her oranges, ran to him, and tore a piece of a wrapper to press against the wound. "Someone help me!" she shouted. Still, no one moved. She pulled him up slowly. He was dizzy, but he could walk. She took him to her house, cleaned the wound with salt water, and gave him her only paracetamol tablet. "You'll be fine," she said, wiping his forehead. "Just rest." Chuka lay on the mat, looking at the zinc roof again. But this time, he wasn't thinking about how poor the place was. He was thinking about how rich her heart was. He closed his eyes and whispered, "She passed the test." But the real test was still coming. And it would not be easy. Chuka woke up early the next morning in Amaka's small house. His head still hurt, but the bleeding had stopped. Say brought him water in a plastic cup. Amaka was outside, washing the wrapper she had used to clean his wound. He felt guilty. This girl didn't know she was caring for a billionaire. If she did, maybe she would act differently. Maybe not. He didn't know yet. He stood up, thanked her again, and left. That afternoon, something unexpected happened. While Chuka was resting near a kiosk, a black SUV stopped close by. Two men in suits came out. People in the area started whispering. "Who are those men? They look like police or something." The two men walked straight to Chuka. "Oga Chuka," one of them said quietly. "We've been looking for you. Your mother is worried. Your company is asking questions." "Keep your voice down," Chuka said. One of the men looked around, then leaned closer. "Sir, you've been gone for weeks. People think you're dead. The board of directors is confused. They want to call a press conference." "I told you not to come here," Chuka said firmly. "I'm not done yet." The other man spoke. "But sir, Madam Obi, your mother is coming to this area today. She's already on her way." Chuka's eyes widened. "You didn't stop her." "She insisted she wants to find you herself." Chuka looked around. If his mother showed up in this neighborhood, everything would be ruined. Amaka would see the truth in 1 second. "Get in the car and leave," he told the men. "Tell her I'm fine. I'll come back in 2 days." They hesitated, but he was their boss. They got back into the SUV and drove off. But the damage was done. Amaka had seen the whole thing from her orange stand. She walked up to him slowly, holding an orange in her hand. "Musa, who are those men?" she asked. He paused for a second, then said, "Just some people from my past." She looked confused but didn't push. That night, he knew he had to tell her soon. Things were getting out of hand. The more he delayed, the harder it would be. But before he could say anything, another problem came. Someone in the neighborhood had recognized him. A boy who once worked as a cleaner in one of Chuka's company buildings. The boy had seen him during a staff party in Lagos. The boy didn't speak up right away. But he started telling people small things. You see that Musa? I swear he looks like that rich man in the news. Nah, it's not possible. I'm telling you, I saw him with my own eyes. The gossip started to spread. By the next day, people were already pointing. Musa, Abichuka. Now poor man way they act film. Amaka started hearing the whispers too. That evening, she came to him again. Musa, she said softly, tell me the truth. Are you hiding something? Chuka looked into her eyes. He wanted to lie again, just one more time, but he couldn't. He took a deep breath and said, yes, I'm not who you think I am. Amaka just stared at him. She didn't speak. She turned and walked away. And Chuka knew at that moment. The hardest part was about to begin. Amaka did not come out the next morning. Her orange stand was empty. Her door was shut. The whole street felt strange to Chuka. People who used to ignore him were now watching him closely. He knocked on her door. No answer. He waited. Still nothing. Chuka walked back to his small room and sat on the floor. He felt like a thief who had been caught. Not because he stole money, but because he had stolen trust. Later that day, Sei came to his door. The small boy stood there with a serious face. My sister said, I should tell you not to come to our house again. Chuka nodded slowly. Did she say anything else? She said you lied. The boy turned and walked away. Chuka sat there in silence. He had prepared for this moment, but it still hurt. He had told himself over and over, if she leaves, at least I will know she was not the one. But now that she had pulled away, he wasn't so sure. Was it the lie that hurt her? Or the fact that he didn't trust her enough to tell her the truth? That evening, Chuka decided he couldn't wait anymore. He changed into clean clothes, not rich man clothes, just simple and neat. He walked to Amaka's house again. He knocked. This time, the door opened. She stood there, her eyes tired. Not angry, just tired. I came to talk, he said. I don't want to hear lies, she replied. No lies this time. He sat on the small bench outside her door and told her everything. His real name, his real life, his reason for hiding, the companies, the money, the houses, the fake name, the test. When he finished, she just looked at him. So, I was a test? I didn't plan it that way, he said. I was tired of fake love. I needed to find someone real. She shook her head. You used me, Chuka. You watched me suffer just to see if I was a good person. No, he said quickly. I helped you too. I just didn't want you to know it was a rich man helping. I gave small, so I wouldn't spoil the truth. Did you ever trust me at all? He didn't answer. He didn't know how to. I was kind to you because I saw someone struggling, not because I wanted anything, she said. I know. She looked away. Then she said something that shocked him. If you had told me the truth from the beginning, I still would have helped you. I still would have been your friend. That broke him a little. I'm sorry, Amaka. She nodded. I know. He stood up. Do you want me to leave? She looked at him for a long time. Then she said, I need time. He nodded. Take all the time you want. As he walked away, he didn't feel like a billionaire anymore. He felt like a man who had lost something he never truly had. But deep inside, a small hope remained. Because she didn't slam the door and she didn't say goodbye. Days passed. Amaka did not return to her orange stand. Every morning, Chuka walked past the empty spot, hoping to see her. But the umbrella stayed folded. The bowls were gone. People asked questions. Where is the orange girl? She hasn't been out since that rich man story. Chuka waited. One morning, he saw Sei again. The boy was sitting on a rock, holding a loaf of bread. Your sister? Chuka asked. She's still at home. She doesn't talk much now. Is she okay? She just sleeps and prays. She told me not to go far. Chuka sat beside him. I didn't mean to hurt her, he said. Sei didn't answer. Chuka knew he had made a mistake. He had been too clever, too careful. Now the person he wanted most was far from him, even though she lived just down the street. Later that afternoon, he made a quiet decision. He went back to his real house in Lekki, took a long bath, wore fresh clothes, picked up his phone after many weeks. He called Kunle. I need a favor. What kind? Kunle asked. I want to do something for someone, but it has to be quiet. No noise, no big man show. Kunle laughed. So, is this the girl? Yes. Chuka told him everything. Kunle listened. I can help, Kunle said, but be sure this is about her, not your guilt. It's both, Chuka said. That night, Chuka sent someone to repair Amaka's roof. Quietly. No name, no story. Just two men with tools and wood working fast while she was out. He also paid a local woman to bring food to the house every morning for 1 week. The woman told Amaka it was a gift from a friend. Still, Amaka didn't come out. Finally, after 1 week, Chuka walked to her door again. She opened it. You sent those people? She asked. Yes. You sent the food too? Yes. Why? Because you matter to me, even if you never speak to me again. She looked tired, but not angry anymore. I was embarrassed, she said. The whole street now looks at me like I'm a fool. You're not a fool, Amaka. You're the only person who treated me like a human being. She stepped outside. They stood in silence for a few seconds. Then she said, I don't need your money, Chuka. I know. I just wanted the truth. I know that now. She looked up at the sky. The sun was setting. The street was quiet. Do you still want oranges? She asked. He smiled. Yes, I always do. She nodded slowly. Then meet me at the stand tomorrow. I'll start again. She walked back inside and closed the door softly. This time, it didn't feel like an end. It felt like a beginning. The next morning, the umbrella was back up. Amaka's orange stand was open again. Her bowls were full, stacked in neat piles. She wore a simple yellow dress and her old slippers. Her face looked calm, but her eyes were different, wiser, more guarded. Chuka walked up slowly. Good morning, he said. Morning, she replied. He stood quietly, not sure what else to say. She pointed to the oranges. Pick the one you want. He reached for the biggest one. This one looks sweet. She smiled just a little. It's not the best on the outside, but it's sweet inside. He looked at her, wondering if that was meant for the orange or for him. As they talked, people started gathering nearby. Some whispered, some stared, but no one said anything loud. They were waiting for drama, maybe a fight. But there was none. Amaka acted like nothing had happened. She peeled the orange, gave it to Chuka, and asked, Do you want another? He nodded. Yes, please. Soon, things began to feel normal again. Each day, he came to her stand. Each day, she opened up a little more. One afternoon, she asked, Do you miss your real life? Sometimes, he said, but it feels empty without someone to share it with. She looked away. So what now? I want to start again, he said. Not as a lie this time, not as Musa, just as Chuka. She didn't answer. That evening, Chuka did something bold. He brought his car. Not the biggest one, just a simple black SUV, clean and quiet. He parked it far, but walked the rest of the way. When Amaka saw it, she looked up. You came as yourself today, she said. Yes, no more games. She nodded slowly. Good. Then she reached under her table and brought out something wrapped in paper. What's that? He asked. She opened it. It was his old torn slippers. You forgot these, she said. He laughed. Keep them. That's how we met. She shook her head. I don't want reminders of lies. That stung a little, but he understood. He stood there for a moment, then asked, Can I take you somewhere this weekend? She raised her eyebrows. Where? Not far, just somewhere peaceful. No noise, no cameras. She looked at him closely. Will I be Amaka or some story again? You'll be Amaka. I'll be Chuka. No hiding. She paused. Then she said, All right, one day. But if I don't like it, I go home. Deal. As he walked away, she called after him. Chuka. He turned. No suits, no driver, and no calling me madam. He laughed. Yes, ma. Sorry. Yes, Amaka. She smiled. A real one this time. It was small, but it meant everything. On Saturday morning, Chuka arrived early. No suit, no driver, just jeans and a clean shirt. He parked his car 2 streets away and walked to Amaka's house. She was ready. She wore a long gown and tied her hair back. No makeup, just her natural face. You look nice, he said. I always look nice, she replied, smiling. They walked to the car together. She looked at it like someone studying a machine for the first time. You drive this every day, she asked. Not really. I usually have someone drive me. Today you're driving yourself. Yes, I want to. He opened the door for her. She entered slowly, looking around like she didn't want to break anything. They drove out of the neighborhood. Not too far, just to a quiet park by the water. No one recognized Chuka there. They sat on a bench under a tree. Birds were flying around. Children played in the distance. Amaka took a deep breath. It's peaceful here, she said. I come here sometimes when my head is full. She looked at him. So your head gets full too? Even with all that money? He laughed. You'll be surprised. Money can't solve everything. They sat quietly for a few minutes. Then she said, Why me, Choka? Why not one of those rich girls? He didn't answer right away. Then he said, Because you're not trying to impress anyone. You just live your life. You care for people without showing off. You see people. You saw me. She didn't speak. He added, You gave me an orange when I didn't even have 10 naira. She chuckled. That orange was small, oh, but it meant a lot. They ate jollof rice and drank bottled water. He had packed it in a cooler himself. No chef, no assistant. When they finished eating, he turned to her. I want to ask you something, he said. She looked at him, curious. I want to show you my world, the real one, my home, my family, my work, but only if you're ready. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I'm scared. Of what? Of being the poor girl lost in a rich man's life, of not fitting in, of people laughing. They'll laugh, he said, but they don't matter. She nodded slowly. And your mother? She'll love you. If she doesn't, she'll learn. Amaka looked away. He didn't push. On the drive back, they didn't talk much. But her silence wasn't cold. It was thoughtful. When they reached her house, she stepped out. Chuka said, Thank you for today. She replied, Don't thank me yet. He smiled. Then when? She leaned close and said softly, When I see your world. Then she walked inside, and Chuka sat in his car for a long time, smiling to himself, because the door to her heart wasn't locked anymore. It was just slightly open. On Sunday, Chuka drove to Amaka's house again. This time, she was waiting outside with Sei. She wore a simple blouse and skirt. Her face was calm, but her hands kept touching the edge of her wrapper. You sure about this? Chuka asked. She nodded once. Let's go. They got into the car. Sei stayed behind with a neighbor. As they drove through the busy city, Amaka kept looking out the window. When they reached the high gate of Chuka's estate, she stared in silence. The gate opened. Inside was a wide compound with green grass, white walls, and a quiet swimming pool. A small fountain made soft water sounds. Amaka looked like she had stepped into another world. They entered the house. It was big, clean, and filled with quiet. Chuka showed her around. Kitchen, sitting room, library, office. She nodded at everything, but her face stayed unreadable. Then they reached a hallway. This is my mother's room, Chuka said. She's inside. Amaka stopped walking. I can wait here, she said. You don't have to be afraid. She knows I brought you. She doesn't know me. She will. He knocked gently and opened the door. Inside sat Madame Obi, Chuka's mother. She was dressed in lace and had a scarf tied neatly on her head. Her face was sharp, but not unkind. So, you're the girl, she said without smiling. Amaka greeted her. Good afternoon, Ma. Madame Obi didn't answer immediately. She looked her up and down. Then she said, Sit. They sat. For a few moments, no one spoke. Then Madame Obi said, I raised my son to be smart. But this boy disappeared, pretended to be poor, and came back with a girl selling oranges. Amaka looked down. But, Madame Obi continued, this same boy is smiling in a way I haven't seen in years. She turned to Amaka. What do you want from him? Nothing, Ma. Nothing? Yes. I didn't know who he was. I just treated him like any other person. Madame Obi stared at her for a long time. Then she stood up and walked to the window. When I married his father, we had nothing. He was just a teacher. We built everything from scratch. I didn't love him for money. She turned around. If you're real and you love him for who he is, I will support you. But if you're here for gain, I will find out and I will end it. Amaka nodded. I understand, Ma. Madame Obi looked at her again. You may go. Outside the room, Chuka asked, How was it? Amaka gave him a small smile. She's a strong woman. She likes you. She just doesn't want to say it yet. They walked to the balcony. The sun was setting, orange and quiet. Amaka stood beside him. This life is big, she said. Yes. Are you sure I fit in it? I don't want someone to fit into my life, he said. I want someone who will build a new life with me. She didn't answer, but she didn't pull away either, and that was enough for now. The days after the meeting with Madame Obi were quiet but hopeful. Amaka started coming to Chuka's house more often, not just for visits, but to help in small ways, arranging flowers, helping in the kitchen, and sometimes just sitting quietly with Chuka and his mother. The neighbors began to notice. Some were surprised, some whispered, but no one dared to judge openly. One afternoon, as they sat under the big mango tree in the garden, Chuka took Amaka's hand. Do you believe in second chances? She looked at him and smiled. I think people deserve them. He nodded. I was wrong to hide who I was from you, he said. But I was afraid you wouldn't love me if you knew. She squeezed his hand. I needed to know you were real. Not rich, not a story, just you. He smiled. Now you know. She laughed softly. Now, what will you do with all your money? Chuka thought for a moment. Use it to build something good. Not just for me, but for others. Maybe start a school. Help young people like you and say, Amaka's eyes brightened. That sounds like a good plan. They sat quietly, watching the sun go down behind the trees. The world felt peaceful. No lies, no secrets, just two people, ready to build a life together. Chuka's test was over, and the real story had just begun.